Hello, everybody. Welcome to panel 3 at the South Coast Lesfic Hangout. I'm excited. This is my second panel. Amanda has just come off one. How are you feeling, Amanda?
Tired.
We're investing everything into this. It's absolutely incredible. So you've just heard about tropes. This morning, we heard about audiobooks. Now we're going to delve into the world of self-publishing. Before we get there, a couple of quick things for you. We are 20 seconds ahead live on, 20 seconds, yes, live on Facebook. So I will try to get to all of the comments that are in the chat group, but please bear with me and apologies if I miss any. So I should introduce myself. I am Natalie Miller-Snell. I am host of Seize the Day podcast. I am also a personal and business coach where I help people achieve their goals. But today I am here supporting Amanda and Claire in their virtual endeavours to deliver this South Coast Lesfic Hangout. And it's been incredible, loving every minute of it. So without further ado, let's introduce these gorgeous people that are here. We have got Kitty McIntosh, Kit Eyre, we've got Melissa Tereze. Did I say it right? Yes! And Amanda Radley, woo! So I'm going to hand over to you wonderful people if you'd like to introduce yourselves, and then we'll get on to some questions. Let's start with, we'll leave Amanda. Let's start with Kitty McIntosh.
Hi, I'm Kitty. I write lesbian romance and fantasy novels about witches. I live on the west coast of Scotland and I like to incorporate Scottish scenery and stories in the stories that I write. I started off as a reviewer. I still have a review blog and I also review for the Lesbian Review. Reading so many books I think has really helped in my own writing, because I don't think I would have been able to do it if I hadn't read so many books of other people's. I still review, but I think writing's my first love.
Oh, I love that. That's so good. Over, you're there. I was going to go to you next. Let's do Kit Eyre.
Hi, I'm Kit Eyre. I write gritty Yorkshire fiction, and like Kitty said, I bring in Yorkshire elements, and I'm very rooted in my area. My other job is a copywriter, which I do a lot of researching for, so it's sort of a nice symbiotic relationship, and I enjoy the interplay between them.
Lovely. And then Melissa, how about you?
I'm Melissa Tereze. I write angsty, preferably age gap lesbian romance, and I am in the middle of my 13th self-published novel.
Fantastic. And Amanda Radley, how about you? Got coffee there? Tea?
Got tea. I'm ready. I'll be awake.
Go for it. Who are you?
Who can say? I'm Amanda Radley, recently rebranded from AE Radley. Same person, I promise. I don't know how many books I've written. I think it's 18 or 19. I'm a hybrid publisher, so I've published with a publishing house, and since then I've been self-published. I write lesbian fiction, well, sapphic fiction, shall we say, and I would say I generally write rom-coms, also age gap, obviously, because they're the best. Yeah, but I sort of try my hand at sort of most things, but they all have an element of humour running through them.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And that leads me on very well to the first question. In fact, Amanda, I'll stay with you if that's okay. So this panel's all about self-publishing. So why self-publishing? And this is a good one because you've been in the published house already. And the question would be extended, and have you ever been, in a publishing house? So why self-publishing? What was the change and what was the draw?
I think publishing houses have their place for certain people, and self-publishing has its place as well. And I think it depends on where you are in your career, what you want from your career, and your own technical ability and things like that. So for me, I published 2 books with a publishing house, and then from there I wanted to have more control over what I was doing. I wanted to be able to just sort of like learn about the whole process. So for me, being self-published was an obvious way to go. I have a background in marketing, so that obviously helped me, because that's hugely important to be a sort of self-publisher, to understand that part of the market. I'm technically minded, so I was well suited to sort of start a self-publishing journey. But yeah, it kind of depends. It depends on what people are looking for in their career. Some people would absolutely hate the idea of self-publishing, and some people who think that they could never be published would find self-publishing absolutely fantastic for them. So for me, it was the right decision at the right time to become self-published, and now I can't even remember how many books I've published. So
you have just come off a panel. You have got a good excuse. I think that's totally fine. It is tiring and wipes you out. I had to go for a walk. Same question over to you, Kitty McIntosh.
Well, I've had quite a few short stories published by traditional publishers first. And then when I wanted to move on to doing some more, I decided that being able to publish them myself, I could write them at my own pace, publish them when I felt they were ready, and focus on the things that interested me without having to cater to what a publisher was looking for. So that's kind of why I went for it. And now I'm sort of moving on to longer novellas and novels. I just want to be able to do them when I want them and not have a time constraint on it. And that's really why I moved into it.
So it gives you that freedom.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I love that. Okay, and on to Melissa.
I think I'm probably similar in that it was about the freedom. I've only ever been self-published, and I'm still really new to it. But I just like the idea of having control over everything. You don't have to worry about what you're writing. You know, maybe some things might be a little bit controversial, and I just feel like you'd have more freedom to do that self-published. Even things down to current events. It's easier to get things out quicker when you're self-published than it is, you know, if you're with a publisher and they set the date. And I mean, I don't know the first thing about publishing houses, but it seems I just don't feel like you'd have as much freedom.
Interesting. Oh, I should have got someone on from a publishing house as well to balance that. I feel we're a bit one-sided. Over to you, Kit Eyre.
Well, I'm also a bit of a control freak, but the main problem for me was that I knew that I would be a difficult fit in traditional publishing of any variety, because, as I mentioned, my work's set in Yorkshire. It's very northern based. It focuses on complex, difficult characters who aren't always likable. And I know that there is a push towards marketable fiction, which I just thought, I'm not going to fit that. So I was in touch with a publishing house and I had some really good feedback, but I just thought, no, I'm going to do this alone. I've got some of the skills and I'll pick up what else I need on the way.
I love it. So it gives you so much more freedom by the sounds of it, from what I'm understanding. Absolutely gorgeous. For anybody who's in the States and doesn't understand accents or dialects, you've all got gorgeous accents. Where are you all? Kitty, you're in?
Scotland.
Melissa, you're in?
Liverpool.
And Kit, you're in?
Yorkshire.
Amanda, you are?
Oh, I'm from Surrey, but I'm in Stoke-on-Trent, so I could speak with Stoke-on-Trent accent, but no one would understand.
Yeah, gorgeous accent, absolutely. Melissa, I loved listening to you. Okay, we've got a couple of questions coming through, so I'm going to hit these straight off. From Emma Wallace, question for the panel. How do you make the leap with your first book of finding an editor before, so this is calling down, before hitting that self-publishing button? How did you know that your book was good enough to justify the cost of having your book professionally edited? Very interesting question. I like that. Kitty, over to you first off.
Well, I didn't use an editor. I used a Pro Writing Aid and edited it that way. And I also have an English degree, so I know that's not typical, but I thought it kind of worked for me. And I haven't heard anyone saying that there was a lot of mistakes or anything in anything I've written. So I hope it worked.
Amanda, over to you.
I didn't know it was ready. I just was gung-ho about it, which I generally am with things. It helped with me because I'd had 2 traditionally published books and I had royalty statements coming in. So I was like, people are buying this. So I kind of thought I had an audience. But my first self-published book, which was ludicrous because it was a cozy mystery, crime caper, lesbian romance, and those 3 things don't go together, and I only realized that when I'd finished writing it, and my editor was talking to me about it. My editor I'd paid a lot of money for was talking to me about it and saying, like, how are you going to market this? And I was like, I don't know, I only just realized what I'd written. So I didn't know, and I just took the plunge. And when you use an editor, you hope that your editor is going to guide you into the path of making you have a positive product at the end of it. That's one of the reasons why, if you do go down the editor route, why you'd use one. So I didn't know, and I hoped.
Love that. Melissa?
I didn't use an editor.
Okay.
I think it was my 4th book before I actually hired an editor. And to be honest with you, I didn't have a clue what I was doing at first. I didn't, I'm not going to lie.
Love your honesty.
I just put it out there, hope for the best. But then now that, once I'd realised, you know, there's only so much you can do before you need to invest in editors and whatnot. It was Grammarly, Pro Writing Aid, that kind of stuff, my partner. But now that I've got an editor, I do see there's huge differences.
Yeah. I was going to say, I mean, sorry, Kit, to before I come to you, certainly that's what I've heard and experienced as well, that there is a benefit in and need, you know, once you get to a certain point, to get editors involved. And that's going to be one of my questions we'll come on to. So over to you, Kit, now as well.
Again, I haven't used an editor so far. I've got a few good friends who have been reading everything I've written for 15 years. But the incubation period, as I call it, for my novels, I wrote the first draft of what turned into But by Degrees in 2010. I didn't publish it till 2016. Such Crooked Wood was 2009, and I only published that this year. So they go through about 7 or 8 drafts. As to knowing when it's ready, I trust my first readers, because I have such a self-critical streak that it would never be published if I left it to me.
I love that. Sometimes you've got to take the plunge as well. Certainly you could look at something for perfection too often. Brilliant. I love that. Okay. Can you talk us through, although we've spoken about an editor already, what is the process for each of you then? It seems slightly different in terms of how you write a book. You then perhaps have betas, go onto the editing or not, as the case may be, and then release the book. And then also outside of that, how do you know how to value your book? And if I can pop that to Melissa first off.
For me, I've noticed a lot of authors will write an entire first draft and then go back to the beginning. I can't do that. I usually get about 4 chapters and then I'll go back and edit, and then I'll do another 4, and then I'll go back to the beginning again. So once it comes to the end of my first draft, it's usually a 3rd or 4th, really. But that's just the way I work it, and everyone's completely different. But the thought of writing the whole thing and then going back just like fills me with dread, because if I get to a certain point, 9 times out of 10, the entire story will change. It's just guaranteed, and it'll go completely off what it was supposed to be, and then I've got to go back and change everything. So if I stick to it in blocks of maybe 5 chapters at the most, that works better for me. So when it comes to the end, sometimes I'll come to the end and I'll think, well, I've only done 1 draft, but really it's not. It is. There's been a good few revisions, and then it will go to my editor, and at the same time it goes to the editor, it'll go to beta readers, and then I make all the changes when it comes back from the editor, and any changes that betas have found and whatnot, then it'll go back to my editor again, and then it'll also go, because usually that's all it needs, it'll then go to a proofreader.
Okay. And then how do you look to market them? Yeah, in terms of price, how do you go into that?
Usually I'll look on Amazon to see what other people are charging. I usually, at the minute, I've been sticking to around, you know, the same price for, or like, regardless of how many words, like my last 2 have been probably 20,000 more words than all the ones before it, but I've still stuck to the same price, because I don't know if maybe I'm not quite selling myself as well as I should be, because sometimes I'll see and you know, $9.99 for an ebook, and I'm thinking I can't charge that. But then I think I've sat down for 3, 4, 5 months writing this book, so maybe I should up it a little bit. And I did consider that, but with you know, everything happening with COVID, I thought I'll leave it to what it is at the minute, because everyone's struggling, you know, whether you're in Kindle Limited or you're not, and you charge whatever. And I just thought I'll leave it to what it is for the time being. But usually it's just a case of looking at different books, similar sizes, and going from there, really.
Love it. Folk are loving your accent, by the way. Just wanted to let you know, some comments coming through. Loving your accent, honestly, but it's gorgeous. I mean, there's no getting away from it. Amanda, over to you in terms of the process and also the finance side of things, in terms of how you would pitch yourself, how one should go about doing it. I mean, that seems like quite a, when you're on your own, it seems like quite a personal, but also quite challenging thing, perhaps.
Yeah, it is. It is difficult to value your own work. So, well, starting off with my process, I'm a full-time author, so I know I have to release a certain number of books per year. So I generally release between 5 and 6 full-length novels a year. So to do that, it's taken me a year and a half to get into the process. So now I'm always 3 books ahead. So what I'm working on now is not the book that's about to come out, and it's not the book that's in editing. I'm always 3 ahead, which is really confusing, because if someone says to me, "Oh, I really like that," I go, "Who? What characters?" I can't remember, because I'm 2 books gone. So what I do is I write a book. A book generally takes about 6 to 7 weeks to write. I'm very much like Melissa. I write and edit at the same time. So, but I do a chapter. So what I'll do is I'll write between sort of 1,500, 2,500 words every morning, and then I go off and have lunch, and then I come back and then I edit what I just wrote. Because that's the cleanest way for me to work. I outline in advance, so I know where the story's going, so I'm literally just filling the gaps in. Once I'm finished with that, it goes off to my editor. I don't use beta readers. I probably should have, but I'm very precious and not very good at taking criticism, so I wouldn't have many friends left if I had beta readers. So so I send it to someone who I pay money to, and she edits it for me, and she takes exactly 2 weeks, because she's a professional editor, and all her products will take the same amount of time. After that, I get it back. I either agree with or disagree with whatever she said, clean it up, and then I send it to my proofreader, who can take anywhere from 3 to 8 weeks. She's watching, she knows, depending on how she feels. And then I get it back, and then it's parked up. So I generally have 1 book released or recently released, 1 book parked up ready to be released, and 1 book that I'm writing. So that's always my process. One's in process, one's being released, and one's being written. When it comes to pricing, it's really hard. All of our traditional publishing houses, so like Ilva, Bella and Bolstroke, all basically price at $9.99. And that's because they put a lot of effort into their books. They have huge teams of people who work on things for the most part, multiple editors, cover designers, proofreaders, so on. So they have, you know, a large staff, and they have to pay them. And if we want quality in a very small genre, which this is a very small genre, we're going to pay more. So you're never going to get those sort of like $1.99, $2.99 deals for publishing houses. With me, I've noticed that if you price your book too low, you don't get many sales, because the people who are used to the traditional publishing houses and paying a lot of money will look at your $1.99 new release and say, "Oh, that's not been edited," or "that's rubbish," and they'll just ignore it. So there's a, you know, the reassuringly expensive model. So I generally sort of pitch myself, not quite at $9.99, but sort of a couple of price points down. But like Melissa says, it's about looking at the market. And for me, I look at the different countries' markets as well, because the UK market will not accept as much as the US market. So you can price yourself out of a market quite easily. Australia is the same as well. So you have to look, in my opinion, at the different countries and kind of look at what the average book is being sold for there and what people will accept. So that's my experience anyway.
A lot of people actually agreeing with both of you, Melissa and Amanda, in terms of how they write as well and how they do the process. So over to you, Kitty.
Yeah, similar to Melissa and Amanda, I write a few chapters at a time, go and edit. In fact, editing's probably my favourite part of the whole thing. I always think what I've written at first is awful, and then I love going back and changing it in the editing process. So I will edit it myself, then put it through as well after that. I send it off to a beta reader, take some comments from her, see if I want to change anything. I put everything through vellum to format my books, do my own covers, and sort of then put it out there and see how it goes. As for pricing, I do look at what other people are charging. Also, Amanda gives a lot of advice on different groups or on her YouTube videos, so I get a lot of advice that way and try and decide how I'm going to price my books. And sometimes I'll change it from what I put on at first. I'll maybe put it for a few weeks or see how it goes, and then maybe sort of tweak a bit, put it at a different price range, see how that goes. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't, but you can do a bit of tweaking. It's pretty easy if you're doing it on Amazon, and put it into Kindle Unlimited as well. I always put my stuff in there.
Oh, I'd definitely come on to that point. There's a lot of people asking about Kindle Unlimited as well. Over to you, Kit.
I think I'm the only one who just writes an entire first draft by the sound of it.
You mean
let's give you a round of applause. It's been different. Yeah.
No, I word vomit. I mean, the first novel that I completed, I did through National Novel Writing Month. So I wrote 50,000, well, worked out at about 65,000 words in a month. And I've got into that process of just getting it out. And then it sits in a drawer and I move on to something else for a bit. At the moment, I've got 13 novels in various stages of production. 3 of which are in unfinished first drafts, and then the rest are sort of first, second, third drafts written, and I'm working on those as and when I can. So it's a bit of an odd process. I've mentioned my incubation period, as I call it, but I find that the stories change, and I just like to let them do what they want to do. So a novel goes through maybe 3 or 4 drafts before anyone reads it. And then finally I edge towards thinking, yeah, this is going to be published shortly. I work with a cover designer who I am friends with, so she does them for free, which is nice. And as for pricing, at the moment I'm sticking around the $2.99 price point, and that's mainly because I'm still a new author. I've only got a few books out there, and I personally, if I'm going to try a new author, I try cheap ones, unless they've been recommended. So I think that will change, but at the moment it works for me.
Brilliant. Okay, we'll come on to a bit more about the marketing and the cover and times of release in just a moment. But touching on Kindle Unlimited, and a lot of people have been asking in the chat, do you sell through one distributor or distributor? Yeah. And Kindle Unlimited, how do you actually go about putting your books out there? Through what channels do you do it? Start with Amanda, sorry. Forget I've got to direct the whole thing as well.
Yeah. It's not a free-for-all, you know.
Yeah, just muck in.
Well, just to explain to everyone, because I know people get a bit confused with this. Kindle Unlimited is a subscription platform that Amazon has, a little bit like Netflix. You pay a monthly fee and you can consume as many books are in Kindle Unlimited as you like, as long as those books are enrolled. So we get a choice as authors as to whether or not we wish to enroll a book in KU. If we do, it has to be exclusive to Amazon for the period that you've enrolled it for, which is 3 months, and then it will generally auto renew, and you can take it out, and then you can go wide, as it's referred, and then you can put your books on Kobo, Nook and Apple and wherever else you like. But if you're going to be with KU, you're exclusive. You get paid per page read, so that's quite handy. So basically, if someone was to, and that amount changes per month depending on what the global fund is. So if someone read half your book and then decided they didn't like it, you do get paid for that, so that's nice. So if someone doesn't like the end of your book, you still got your money, so nice. But you do get paid considerably less for a completed book, well, depending on how your book is priced, but most of us will get paid less for a completed KU read book than we would if someone bought it. but then some people do return books after they've read them and get a full refund. So, you know, swings and roundabouts. For me, I love KU. I found a lot of readers through KU. Like Kit was saying, if you're a new reader, a lot of people don't want to give you a chance. So if they have a subscription package and they can just pick up your book for free, just as part of their monthly subscription, then they're going to be more likely to give your book a try. So that's quite helpful. Also, KU does go into the Amazon algorithm, which depends on where your book is ranked in the charts. So if your book is in KU, you are going to rank higher than a book that is not in KU. Not fair, but it is the way it works. So for me, I would, it's confusing and complicated.
It's amazing.
But for me, I'd always put a book in KU, because I'd happily give away free books to a new reader in the hope that that reader will become a fan and will want to buy books in the future. So if I'll happily give away books, I will happily put them in KU or happily discount them. And I just view it as another sort of marketing tool that I have. So for me, yeah, I absolutely love KU.
Okay, let's go on to Kit now.
Yeah, the same. I'm with Amanda on that one. I only put my books in Kindle Unlimited 15 months ago. Before that, I was trying to sell through other areas and I just wasn't getting any traction. I thought, I just want to put them in KU, see if anything happens. And the majority of my income comes through page reads now rather than sales. Again, that'll probably change, but at the moment, I'm very happy just letting Kindle Unlimited tick over in the background while I get on with writing.
Okay. Kitty?
Yeah, I've found that I get more page reads on Kindle Unlimited than just book sales, and it's working for me. And I think it's worth it, because people will find you there and then they might want to read something else that you've written. So for me, it's really sensible if you want to get more readers to do that. I did put it in other areas as well, but when you go into Kindle Unlimited, you have to only have it in there. You have to take it out of other markets. So but I find I wasn't making that much on the other markets, so it made sense for me to just move it into Kindle Unlimited.
And all of you actually, perhaps anyone can answer this, have you noticed there's been a change in how either Kindle Unlimited or sales have worked since COVID? Have perhaps Kindle Unlimited gone up more?
Not
for
really.
me.
I've not noticed any particular change. Roughly 50% of my monthly income every month comes from KU. I've not noticed a change. I don't know if anyone else has.
No. Okay. Then, so Melissa, finally, question over to you.
I love KU. KU is the reason I could quit my job and write full time. So I've got nothing whatsoever against KU. I have noticed a slight difference during the pandemic. I think it was around April, I had a new release out and I found that I was getting a lot more page reads than I was actual book sales. But I think it was the panic. No one knew what was going to happen. No one knew if they'd have a job the following week. But then last month, I think I had 1.2 million page reads. So the page reads have gone up and the book sales have gone up. But I think it's great. I think it's a brilliant idea. And I know some people try and stay away from Kindle Unlimited, but I've found some great books, really, really good books in KU. And I think it probably accounts for about 70-80% of my income. So
it's really encouraging too, because I think at the end of the day, we're all different, aren't we? And we all have to work in whatever way suits us, that's lucrative for us and that makes it work. So I think that's fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. Okay, so we've got a question in from Mark Roachford. Why do authors hate writing a blurb on the back of a book? I didn't know that you did. Tell me about it. Let's start with Kitty.
Well, I don't actually hate that, because I really enjoy that. I think maybe because I've been a reviewer for so long, I'm used to having to condense what a book's about in a short number of words. So for me, I really enjoy that. It isn't a chore.
Okay, I wonder if it's the same. Over to you, Kit.
I find it a little bit difficult to distill the story into something that sounds interesting to other people, because sometimes it sounds like, well, this happens and this happens, this happened. but yeah, it's a necessary evil, I suppose, is the phrase.
So it's a challenge, okay, to condense what you've put your heart and soul and blood, sweat and tears into a itty bitty kind of space. Okay, Melissa?
I don't hate writing blurbs on the back of a book. I just hate them altogether. When it comes to writing a blurb, everything just disappears. I've no idea what I've just written, and I don't know how I'm supposed to get it down into, you know, a couple of hundred words, what the entire book's about, without giving anything away. So I just don't like doing them at all, regardless of where they're getting put up online, on the back of the book. It doesn't matter. Don't like it.
And before I come to you, Amanda, Amanda's holding her laughing. You can carry on there. Jen Matthews says that she misses you all. She was there last year, was she, at the South? Yeah, okay, fine. We've got Doreen Howard has said that Kindle Unlimited is essential for reader addicts like herself, which I kind of understand, actually. Sorry, Amanda, over to you, and then we've got another question here.
I hate writing the blurb, and I'm going to get Kitty to write mine. She likes them so much.
I'm pleased we left you to the end. Go on, tell us why.
Oh, well, the same as Melissa, but with an added element. So you've written this book, and then you've got to try to, in a salesy manner that doesn't sound too salesy, without giving anything away, but also making it sound like something happens, encourage other people to buy the book when you, an author, probably don't like the book anymore. And for me, I'm 2 books ahead. So I have to go, who are these people? Where are they? What are they doing? Which I have to literally go back to my manuscript and check. And the amount of times I've shown my wife and gone, what do you think? Would you buy this? And she's like, that's the wrong character name. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. The rest of it's right. But it's hard work. Mark's right. Most people dislike it. Kitty is just a magician.
I didn't know that. Kitty, looks like you're going to get a lot of business.
Yeah, start a blurb writing business.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Okay, Jen also asks, how do you find a good editor? Now, who's editing? Amanda, you are, and Melissa. So is that right? So let me fire that to you. How do you find a good editor? Melissa first.
I found mine on Twitter.
Oh.
It was just a case of, I mean, I don't know what differences there are with editors, because I've only ever used the same editor, but I'm more than happy with them. They've got really good reviews. Their website's great with all the, you know, people have recommended them and everything else. I think most of the time it's a case of asking around, asking other authors, because they're the people who may have already used them. But I found mine on Twitter. I found everything on Twitter though, so.
It's not a bad place. Go on, you, Amanda. When it's positive, it's a good place.
Yeah.
Amanda will have something to say about that, but that's a different panel.
Yeah. No. I found mine on a site called Reedsy. So Reedsy is like an online marketplace, a little bit like Fiverr and People Per Hour, where you basically find editors, cover designers, proofreaders, anything to do with books. So any service people to do with books. I just come out of having 2 books professionally published by a traditional publishing house, and in a moment of madness went, I can do that. And then after I'd written the book, I thought, how do you edit? Because I cannot edit. I'm one of those people who reads what I think's there and not what is actually there. So I needed a professional editor. And especially for me, I didn't want people to pick up my traditionally published book and go, oh, this is like well edited and put together, and then pick up dribble that I produced myself. So I wanted to make sure I had that editor. And we just clicked, and she's edited every one of my books since then. So I think I was incredibly lucky that I just happened to sort of find someone who had a lot of experience, who I could afford, and who I could work with. So yeah, I went professional, but I do talk to her on Twitter, if that counts.
I love that. Brilliant. This is a really good question that's come through here, actually. How many books can you read? How many books? Let me read this right. How many books by other authors can you read a month when you're writing your own? It's a really good question. Over to you, Kitty. Well, you're a reviewer, so you must read loads.
Books anyway, yeah. So it's a good time. I can maybe read 4 a week. Other times, if I'm really busy, it would be 2 a week. But I read all the time anyway. So, and I'm a fast reader. So,
okay. Kit.
I read a lot of non-fiction, but a lot of that's research in a tangential way. Maybe 2 or 3 books a month from other authors of various genres.
Melissa?
1 or 2 at a push. It depends. Although I've read 2 this week so far, so
not bad.
It just depends. But
Okay.
not. I can't really read when I'm writing. I try to, but 9 times out of 10 it doesn't happen. So.
Okay. And Amanda?
None. I hardly read at all. I am the only author you'll ever meet who goes, I don't read. But I'm on the spectrum, so I don't process books in the same way to other people. I listen to audiobooks occasionally, but I'm very much someone that if I read something, I will just carry on writing that story that I've just read later when I'm trying to write my book, and I'm like, this is the wrong story. So I can't do it. So, and as I'm writing all the time, I just don't. So audiobooks is sort of my get round. So I might listen, well, at the moment I've not listened to any for ages, but generally I listen to sort of 2 a month of those. But for since COVID started, I've not listened to a single audiobook either. There's just been no input going in.
Creative folk particularly, for everybody actually, I'm not going to exclude anybody because everyone's included. It's been quite a difficult moment for anybody processing and getting back into things. And you're covering this tomorrow, Amanda, are you? Is that one of your panels?
It is, writing during COVID.
What time is that, Amanda?
I'm glad you asked. It's 2:30 tomorrow.
That'll be really interesting though, because I think a lot of folk, and I was talking to Brenda Murphy about yesterday, in fact, it's been challenging, I think, to try to find that energy and whatever, either to read or just be creative. So, hats off to you guys, use the different word, hats off to you folk. I think it's incredible, writers generally, and I said this on the panel earlier, you put your blood, sweat and tears into books that we get to read, and I think that's an amazing thing. So, hat off. Okay, let's go back to the process. As a self-published author, how important do you see the cover art, and how much time and effort do you put into these elements, the timing of release, sticking to a release date, are you able to do that as a self-published author, and marketing and so on? So the kind of general process, but those key elements. Let's start with Kitty.
I do the covers on myself on Canva, so usually from photographs. Some I've done another way. As for dates when publishing, I just do that when I'm ready to do it. That's why I like to self-publish, because I'm not tied down to any particular dates that a publisher would want me to do. So for me, that kind of works.
Okay, just on the cover art, a question. How does the copyright work there? And Canva's quite a really good platform, isn't it? Is there an issue?
Well, a lot of it's the ones that are free to use on Canva, you can do that. The photographs I use are photographs of my own. My background is a photograph of my own.
It's beautiful.
So that's why I tend to use that.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, Melissa?
What was the question again?
Let me go through it. Okay.
Covers.
The cover art, the key elements in the process, how important are they to you, and do you stick to them, or skip over them? Or cover art, timing of release, and maybe sticking to release dates, and marketing, and how do you do it?
Covers, the first 2 covers I had were from Fiverr, and then I had to panic because everyone was saying Fiverr's rubbish, don't use Fiverr, and I was like, well, I really love this cover, it's great. So I just left that, and then anything from Forget Me Not up to Before You Go, so 7 books, I did my own covers, and now I've just handed that off to a designer, and it's given me so much more time to do other things. So I won't be doing my own covers anymore. In terms of release dates, I always try and stick to the same month. So if I say my next release is looking at October, but I don't know when in October, it could be the first day, it could be the last day, but I'm generally quite good at sticking to it. Might be a day or 2 either side, but usually I'm okay. And marketing, I just ask Amanda everything.
Yeah, she does.
I really do.
Fountain of knowledge. On to you then, Amanda.
Covers are massively important to me. I cringe every time I see what I deem to be a bad cover, and there are plenty in our genre. But but they're not that important, I think, to a lot of readers. A lot of readers gloss over covers. That's more for me. That's my marketing background dictates that I feel I must have a professional, what I deem to be a professional looking cover. I did all my covers before my rebrand and after my rebrand. The rebranded ones are to focus on a different market, so not the lesfic market. So that was quite successful. I managed to sort of scoop in a few readers by changing my covers and conning them into reading my books. So that was quite handy. But yeah, release date. I have a Gantt chart. You'll know what a Gantt chart is, Nat. So which will tell me, like, at the start of the year, I'll know how long I'm going to spend writing each book. I might not know what each book is, but I know how long I'm going to spend writing it. And then I'll know the editing process, the proofing process, and then the release date. So I'll know roughly, like Melissa, somewhere in June. I might say like the end of June or something. I'll have a vague idea. And to me, it's just whenever they're going to be ready and if they fit into a theme. So I'm writing a Christmas book now during this incredible heat wave that we've just had. And that has to be done for the 7th of September. So that's been no fun. But I generally try to release Christmas books in Christmas, which means I'm writing them in July. Summer books I would like to release in June. So I'm writing those in December when it's freezing. So you can never be, you know, if you're as tight a schedule as I am, you're never going to be writing in the right season, unfortunately. But yeah, for me, that sort of thinking about what you're writing and what you're releasing, if there is anything sort of thematic to it, is really important.
Love that. And you, Kit?
I mentioned I work with my cover designer. I have, for a while before COVID, I was working in the same office as in a co-working space. So I'd find the images, send them to her, and she'd make a cover with her magic design fingers and then let me go around, have a look at it. I'd point at it and say, no, I don't like that bit. So it was a bit more of a collaborative process than maybe some authors get, and that was just luck because I happened to be working in the same office as a designer. So in terms of release dates, I like September releases. I think the first novel I released, I made sure I had to set a deadline. It was like, right, I'm going to release this in September. And I wrote a list of things month by month. You know, it was editing in March, and then I was moving house in the June, and then something else in the July. And then by the time it got to September, I'm just like, yeah, okay, that was a great idea. But it did push me to get it finished. And ideally, I'd want that pressure every time. Otherwise, I just sit back and let the novel fester. But I need to be a bit stricter with myself and say, yeah, just release it in a certain month. I haven't done that during COVID.
Do you know what? It's a lot of people. You're not alone. It's been a challenging few months, hasn't it? But I understand it's good to have a date in. Oh yeah, I'm a date person as well. Okay, we've got some more questions coming through here. Let's have a look. Okay, how do you market your books, and what is successful to you? Oh, that's a really good question. Thanks, Doreen. I'll chuck this to you, Amanda, in terms of literal marketing and what success is in terms of that.
I rank my success based upon income coming in, because at the end of the day, I'm a full-time author and I'm making money from it. Some people will be successful if they sell a certain number of copies, or some people will be successful if they chart in a certain place. But chart success isn't necessarily going to equate to money, because it depends on a few things, depending on if you're in KU or what your price of your book is. So being in the top 5 for, you know, months on end can be massively successful, or possibly not if you've really reduced the price of your book. For me, how I market my books is over the years I've been releasing, I have always tried to garner as many people's email addresses as I can. My email marketing list is my most important. I do free giveaways every month, and I do sort of special sales and things that only go to my email marketing list. Just basically keep them engaged and thank them for being part of my email list. And then for me, because I'm on KU, I'm exclusive to Amazon. For me, I would like my book to rank reasonably highly up the charts, because that basically gets more eyes on your book, because I probably only have contact with, I'm going to put a rough figure on it here, 35-40% of my readership or anything to do with my email marketing list or my social media. There's a vast unknown audience out there who I can't get to. I can't say I've got a new book out, and they notice I've got a new book out when it's on Amazon. So for me, knowing how the Amazon algorithm works and knowing that basically what Amazon will do, it will calculate how popular your book is. If you have a huge spike, you have a lot of sales come in and then nothing else happens, i.e. you have a pre-order, Amazon will start to take notice of you, but then on the day 2 or 3, when all those sales drift off, it won't think that you're a progressive book that's going to sort of sell more and more and more. Whereas if you didn't have a pre-order and you told Facebook on day 1 that your book was out, and Twitter on day 2, and your email marketing list, or half your email marketing list on day 3 and the other half on day 4, Amazon sees your sales going slightly like this, slightly up. And when it sees that happening, because when you make money or you make a sale, Amazon makes money. So then Amazon will help you to sell that book, and Amazon will say, okay, anyone who's bought a book similar to this might be interested in your new book. So Amazon will go and email them on your behalf. So for me, it's about using my social media and my email in such a way to ensure that Amazon take notice of my new release and start doing the heavy lifting for me. So for me, I artificially slow a release date. I don't often have pre-orders unless I'm trying to do something special with that book. Like if I'm trying to chart in a mainstream category, then I might use pre-orders to try to boost it up. But for me, that's how I go about it. But this completely depends on your book, if you're a traditionally published author or not, and what access to things you have. But yeah, for me, it's about slowing the launch. If you slow the launch and you show Amazon slow increase, or at least a steady sales pattern over a few days, it will then start working for you.
Okay, like that a lot. A new author is starting out. They are going self-published route. Their first book they've released perhaps hasn't done so well, or even the second one for that matter. What advice would you give somebody to carry on and just not pull out of, and stop writing and stop doing it? Because I've heard it quite a few different conversations that people just stop writing because it doesn't go quite well and they're not sure what to do. Let's start with Kitty.
Well, I write because I love to write, and I don't think I would stop doing it because I'm not going to sell books. It's not costing me anything to self-publish because of the way I'm doing it with Kindle Direct Publishing. So I've invested obviously in software and various things like that, but I'm doing it because I love it, and if I sell some, then I'll be quite happy, but I won't stop doing it if one of my books doesn't do very well. So I think I would keep at it, because you can always learn. You're going to learn as you keep writing, and I think you'll get better. Okay. Keep at it.
And Kit?
Yes, don't stop writing. Writers primarily start writing because they enjoy it, apart from Amanda, who started writing by accident. But you pour yourself into novels, and it can be really difficult if it doesn't take off in the way that you want it to. But remember that Amazon, your novel's going to be on Amazon for as long as you leave it on Amazon, and as long as Amazon doesn't go bust. So it's going to be there for people to discover. So carry on writing something else. Just focus on putting one word in front of the other, and just enjoy what you do. If you find you're falling out of love with it, just take a step back and ask what will make you fall back in love with writing, because it is supposed to be fun and torturous at the same time.
That's a gorgeous answer. Melissa?
I think some people go into it seeing the success of other people. I was one of them, and expected to just fly off the shelves kind of thing. It took me until my 5th book before anyone really read anything or got in touch with me to say, oh, I've just read your latest, whatever. And I think there might have been 1 or 2 occasions when I thought, well, obviously I'm not a good writer. But then I sat down and had a word with myself, and everyone's journey is different. I only started writing because I lost both my grandparents, and I started writing fan fiction. I was never ever planning to be a full-time writer. I wanted to be a singer, I wanted to be a photographer, but somehow it's ended up being the writing. And I think for me now, even if I didn't have many sales, I wouldn't be able to stop writing. And it's about you just carry on, especially times like this when you can kind of shut the world out and write a completely different world, because this one's a bit rubbish. But I would say don't ever sit there and think, well, I'm not good enough to write. Just keep at it, and hopefully eventually 5 books in, like me, people sort of kind of know who you are.
Love it. And you, Amanda?
I think, well, what everyone said is it's really important to identify there's different kind of writers, and there's people writing for different reasons. So like Kitty is writing because she loves writing. She loves reading and writing books, and, you know, she's not trying to, you know, be a millionaire. I'm sure she'd love it, but, you know, it doesn't have a goal. And we're all different. So I think, you know, the first thing to do is to not judge yourself against other people, because you don't know what that person's goals or ambitions are. Some people just love writing and want to get their work out there. Some people do just want to make money, and, you know, everything in between, and everything's valid. And I think writing is extremely subjective, and you have to find your own path as to what makes you happy and what you wish to do. So if you are struggling to write, then, like Melissa says, have a word with yourself and, you know, see if it's something you want to do. You know, what are your reasons for doing it? Are you doing it to try to be number one and make a lot of money? Because if you do want to do that, that's a perfectly fine goal, but you will have to bear in mind that it takes a while to get there. You'll have to learn your craft, you're going to have to market, you're going to have to be around for a while, you're going to have to write a few books. And if you start writing a book today, depending on who you are and your speed, it could take quite a long time for you to finish writing that book. And if, you know, you need, say, like Melissa says, 5 of them under your belt before people start to know who you are, that's going to be quite a long time. So it's about being subjective and looking at what you want and how you want to go about achieving it, maybe having a sort of, you know, 12 months, 3 year and 5 year goal, and actually, you know, sticking to those goals.
Gorgeous reply. Absolutely fantastic. Really, really, really fantastic advice. And I apologise, there's a party a couple of doors down. They're making a lot of noise. I don't know if you can hear it. So sorry to everyone who's watching as well. I might go and join in a minute. I might go and join. Okay, a great way to end it. I think that's incredible advice. All of you, as I say, you're all amazing authors generally. I just think, hat off. I think it's an inspiring thing you do. You put yourself out there, you make yourself vulnerable with the words you offer everybody, and I think it's wonderful. So to close this out, let's hear what you're all up to. What is in the pipeline? What have you got coming up, coming out? What is happening? Let's start with you, Kit.
At the moment, I'm flitting around from one project to another because COVID. This afternoon, I sat down and started working on a 4th draft, which I think I might stick with for a bit. So I'm not releasing another novel this year, probably, but probably next year, you know, hopefully.
Get there. No problem. Melissa?
I am about to finish and send my next book to my editor. It's another age gap romance, and it's got a dog called Frog.
A dog called Frog. I love that. That is brilliant. It's a good enough reason to buy it alone. Amanda?
Oh, I'm writing a Christmas book in August. It's August. So yeah, I'm writing that. I have another book waiting. I might have an announcement about that soon. But yeah, at the moment, just plodding on with Christmas, halfway through Christmas. So that's me for now.
Wonderful. And you, Kitty?
I'm writing an erotica short story collection called The Allure of the Night Train, using a pseudonym called Pumpkin Spice to keep it separate from my Kitty McIntosh books. So I'm sort of well on with that. I'm hoping to have that out in maybe about 6 weeks.
And that's quite different to what you normally do. So are you enjoying it?
I am actually, yeah.
Yeah?
I'm enjoying it, yeah.
Change is as good as a holiday, or so they say. Okay, just thank you. There's lots of thank yous coming through now. This has been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much. So this will go live. Thank you everyone for joining as well. It's Go Pumpkin, someone's put. This will be on Facebook now for anyone to watch as often as they want. It will also be going up onto YouTube. Amanda, I think I need to talk to you about when we do those. Tomorrow, we've got more. What have we got happening? You're up first, I think. You've got 2 tomorrow, a bit like me today. What have you got going on, Amanda?
At 2:30, I've got writing during a pandemic. So how to write a book during COVID. I've got Kit Mallory, Lola Keeley and Jen Matthews. And then you're talking to my wife, I think.
I am very excited about it, got to say. We're talking mixing genres. I think Bray's on that one. We've also got, who else? Claire. And
Arizona Tape.
Arizona Tape, yes. Wonderful. Really looking forward to that. And then you are closing out the weekend with...
I am at 7 o'clock. I've got writing a book, how to go through the process of actually writing a book. And if anyone's got any secrets or any formulas, I've got Emma Nichols, I've got Claire Ashton, Rosie D, and I've got Claire Heighton-Stevenson. Don't know if you've heard of her.
Yeah, she's a stand-in, is she?
Yeah, she is. Unfortunately, Jade Winters couldn't make it because she double booked us with filming and filming one.
Small detail.
Yeah, but you know, we'll get her next time.
This has been absolutely incredible. Thank you so much. Thanks everybody for watching, and we will catch up with you again tomorrow. Take care.